Good afternoon. I call to order the special city council meeting for this Monday, February 2nd. And would ask that everybody get their cell phones or whatever on mute, if you would, please. Let's have the roll call, please.
Blessum.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Hayes.
Here.
Janser.
Here.
Olson. Here. Pittner.
Here.
Samuelson.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda, item 3, is an executive session regarding a potential land purchase. Before we decide whether to enter into executive session, the council needs to address a conflict of interest question. Under North Dakota Century Code 44-04-22, if a member of a governing body has a direct and substantial personal or financial interest in a matter before the body, that member must disclose it. They may not participate or vote unless the majority of the remaining council members agree to allow it. In this case, the potential land purchase involves property the city is considering for a regional detention pond. Negotiations have been ongoing since June of 2024. To help the council evaluate the conflict question, I'd like to first call on City Engineer Lance Meyer to provide some background on the project.
Good afternoon, mayors and council members. I thought it'd be helpful if I just walked everyone through kind of what this project is. Again, you've seen this a couple years ago now, but I think it'd be good just to refresh everyone so you have kind of the full picture of how everything has developed. Looking here at the graphic, this is an overall watershed picture of all the stormwater area that would drain to this proposed detention pond. So everything you see here in this green color that extends all the way past the US 83 bypass, basically all the land north of 21st Avenue, all the way up here to the 83 bypass to the north, some airport land, and then all of this land, including Stonebridge Farms and some of the industrial develop, all would flow to this proposed detention pond. So what you're seeing here in the light blue color is the existing pond that was installed as part of the Stonebridge Farms development. In this blue hatched area is what we've designed to expand that pond to handle the increase in stormwater flows that would be directed towards this pond. This is kind of a two-pronged approach to solving some of the drainage issues we have. One of the issues that we're trying to solve is Broadway and the frontage roads up in this area from about 24th Avenue to 27th Avenue on large rains will flood. And depending, the water depth will depend on the intensity of the flood, but it could be anywhere from a couple inches up to 6. In addition, and you can probably see it a little bit better in this picture, we're starting to have severe erosion that's happening from this major outfall that drains the majority of northwest Minot along this farmer's field, and it's getting worse every year. So this picture here is 5 years old, so just imagine what it looks like now. So the concept is to intercept the stormwater flows, put it into a pipe, and then route it into an increased regional detention pond with a new outlet works and an enhanced ditch system that would then bring the stormwater flows back outside the city and then have it metered out over to Livingston Coulee. So this is the general concept that we've come up with. In order to accomplish this design, we need to buy some land. So it's approximately 4.71 acres in total. As it's proposed right now, there's 4 lots that could be developed here in this corner, plus this ditch system that we need to construct all the way out to 30th. And then a piece of right-of-way that needs to be purchased, all adds up to 4.71 acres. This project has had, I would call it an interesting project development. It looked fairly straightforward when we started. However, things got complicated when we started to need federal permits. So the 404 wetlands permit that comes from the Corps of Engineers took over 7 months to obtain. We couldn't make any land purchases from the previous landowner until we had that permit in hand, because if the Corps would reject the permit, then the whole thing would be moot and we'd have to start over. The Corps eventually gave us our permit that we needed, and we were right towards the end of the year here. We were trying to make a deal with the previous landowner. We came to an agreement on terms, which we would have then brought to you all for consideration in executive session, like we would do today. However, then at the end of the year, to make things complicated again, the city alderman purchased the rest of the land that we were looking at purchasing. So because of that, we have some additional steps we have to take for transparency and those sort of things, which is good, and that's why we're in front of you. So I wanted to give you some of that background to let you know that we've negotiated this now twice. Once with the previous landowner. Mr. Hayes has said that he would honor what we had negotiated before. And so with that, if we do go into executive session, we would start with that, and you all would give me direction on how you want to proceed, if at all. So I would stand for any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for the city engineer? Alderman Blessum.
Lance, I remember when we had discussions about this before, and I just want to make sure I understand what the project is meant to do. You mentioned two parts to it. One, I don't see at all how any work done over here does much of anything to help back down on Broadway. This is all downstream, right? So maybe the outflow is pushing pressure back. Is that why, or do we have to fix the lines all the way across Broadway to get that fixed?
See if there's a I can pull up a better graphic, but I think this will start with this. Right now, crossing between both sides of Broadway, there's a 18-inch diameter pipe that's supposed to take all of this stormwater from the west side of Broadway and then meter it through. It comes through, you can kind of see this open channel here on the airport property. It comes through that and then goes into an existing 48-inch diameter pipe that outfalls near our Stonebridge Farms pond. So part of the project will be to regrade the North Broadway ditch to the north, and then we will install a new culvert, I believe it's 36-inch diameter, underneath the roadway. And then that will take that increased stormwater flow through the airport property. The pipe that is already existing is graded such that it can take on that additional flow. So from a modeling perspective, we've now solved the increased drainage that's coming towards this pond, right? So that fixes the Broadway flooding, the frontage roads flooding. But then when we have that additional water that comes to this area faster, it's going to make the erosion worse. And we need a way to mitigate that increase in flow. So by building the regional detention pond, we will take care of the ditch eroding problem and the additional flow rate that's coming towards this area. So that's why I mentioned before it's a two-pronged approach.
Yeah. If I can continue.
Continue.
So Lance, I guess, and I've said this before, and I think everybody understands kind of where I'm coming from. I don't think there's anybody better in our city organization than you to understand what projects we have in the CIP and everything that we've got on our docket, right? The last numbers that we had were it's somewhere around 2.6 million that we would put into this entire system to get this all to work. I can only assume that's gone up since then because it's been a while. So let's just, for easy numbers, let's think of it as 3 million. And I guess the question that I have, knowing what you know across everything that we have to do, 3rd Street Bridge, NAS, flood, infrastructure underground, lead pipes, all of that stuff. When I looked, this isn't in the CIP right now. And is that because it was approved prior? Is that, I can't find it in there in the 26 to 2030 CIP. Is that why?
Mr. Mayor and Alderman Blessum, correct. So we had this project program previously. Once it's in the CIP and funded, we assume then that it carries forward. Because of the project delays, we had to hit pause on this because we didn't quite know when this may or may not move ahead. So there is some funding. It's over $1 million that is in reserves right now. That's essentially waiting for this project. If the project would move forward, then those funds and the funds for the land purchase would go towards that part of the project. I do want to make one point to your point. While this may or may not be the time to construct the project, we do have some time to work through this if the council wishes. The permit that we have with the Corps of Engineers is good for 5 years. The one thing that I would suggest to the council is if we're interested at all at any time in the future of constructing this project, I think we should consider purchasing the land so that we have it. The entire design and the permits that we had to obtain basically are predicated on this pond being in this location. So in the future, if we would have to look for a different pond location, then we'd have to essentially redesign this key piece of the project. It can be done, but there'd be increased costs sometime in the future if council elects to move forward. So I just wanted to make sure everyone kind of understands what some of the implications could be in the future, depending on which way you choose.
If I can continue, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, so that's really, I guess, where my mind goes. Because again, I want to be clear always. To me, what you're presenting appears to be the best engineering solution. That's never my question at all. My question is always about priorities and how that fits with everything that we're trying to juggle. And so that's why for me it's a little bit hard. I appreciate what you're getting at. I guess the way that I look at it is I don't see us being in a better position anytime in the next 5 years to make this decision and to move forward with it. I mean, if we somehow, got to the end of NAS, flood is still stacked up right behind it. I mean, as I've said before, my grandkids will pay for NAS most of their life, or for flood, I should say. So that's kind of the world that we're living in. And again, if we've got $3 million to work with, where is the best place for us to be putting it is really my question. I don't know if this is it. And that's the hard part is that, we pay very good people to give us advice and to lay all this out, and that's why I look to the CIP. It's already approved, but the funds aren't expended. I mean, I think we still have a decision to make to actually pull the trigger to move forward with it. So I just want to be clear. I wanted to have this conversation at this part of the meeting because this is not anything in the executive session at all. This is a bigger picture question. I actually don't have much question about it if we do decide to move forward, that this is the right approach and that, we need to make the purchase at the right price. So I just want to make sure that we kind of had this discussion again, because if we have any question as to whether this is the right priority, then we need to let that be known now, because we don't want to keep going down the path that you're headed on.
Right. And Mr. Mayor and Alderman Blessum, to your question earlier, if everything was funded with the same dollar, general fund or what have you, obviously this project would probably rank below some of the other ones that we have. The challenge for us as city staff is, for this project in particular, the way that it's currently proposed to be funded would be funded from fees that are collected from the storm sewer utility that go towards projects like this. So really, as the ordinance is written today, there's kind of one home that those fees can go to. And the other half of that funding would be by special assessment. Whether council wants to move forward with that concept or not is up to you. But some of those funds are somewhat restricted as to what kind of projects they can go towards. So when we evaluate projects and where they should go in the priority, we also have to look at the funding sources that are coming with them and then what strings are attached to those funds. So I just wanted to add that for your information in case you have questions on that.
Mr. Mayor, if I can continue on that.
Go ahead, Alderman
So
Blessing.
that's a good point, Lance. So as I look at this, then in the exact same bucket, a huge project that we have coming is along 11th Avenue by the Norwegian Park, right? So, we're talking 12 million, I think, in the CIP, roughly 11 something like that. Again, I assume some of the same split. We were doing some special assessments with that for the area, but also those same storm sewer fees that we're pulling. And so there definitely are priorities that are competing for these funds. And again, I would look to that and say again, when I loaded this into my mind the first time we went through it, it didn't make sense to me to save that little bit of water going over the frontage road every once in a while. I remember asking you, are we deteriorating the roadway? Are we wrecking what we've got? And it wasn't that it was no, it's that not substantially. I mean, it happens every couple years. We're definitely going to have water over that roadway. To me, that doesn't justify that. The main thing that maybe justifies this long-term is, as we're going to need to solve it at some point. Is it cheaper to do it now? Is it a better opportunity to do it? We've already set aside some of the funds. Is it the right time? I can maybe get there, but again, if I've got to load these against the other things that we've got out there, this one doesn't reach real high on the list for me. That's the hard part. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Fuller.
Thank you. Hey, Lance, just a couple quick questions. I live in South Minot, so I'm not up there when it's raining. How many times has Broadway or those roads over the last 5 to 10 years had an issue where they were undrivable? If you had to guess.
So I've been here 17 years. I think Broadway's gone under once for sure. I think the water's been up to the edge lines once in that time frame. The frontage road's probably gone underwater 4 or 5 times. So, and that does reflect what we had seen in the modeling. So everything is tying out, and that gives us good confidence in our model that based on the flows that are coming at it, the frontage road should go underwater every couple years, and Broadway on very intense storms probably in that 10 to 25 year, maybe even more. Okay.
And then, if I can continue.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Second question, I guess, now, and you're more knowledgeable about this than I am, but just looking at it and some of the other things we're going to talk about later, we're talking about some retention ponds to the west. Is that like moving it east versus west? Is there any cheaper correlation for us going another direction, or is there just, it's not viable doing that?
Mr. Mayor and Alderman Fuller, I think what we're trying to take advantage of in this current design is the volume that's already here, right? So it's more efficient from a design standpoint to add on to the existing pond that you have. You have one outlet works. So this is like the pipe network that we use to meter the water out. It's more efficient for us if we can do that on one outlet works versus multiple ponds that have multiple outlets. It's just better for the overall system if we can try to accomplish that in one set of infrastructure versus many.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the city engineer? Okay, thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.
I stand by in case something comes up, I guess. Okay, now I would like to ask Councilmember Hayes to explain how he got involved in this situation.
Okay, I'm always looking, our company's always looking properties and that. And back in, would have been July 11th of 2024, I inquired about the property. It had come on the market, and I was somewhat interested in it. Then I put a formal offer in on and did a DRT on the same day on August 7th of 2024. At that meeting was Alderman Pittner and Alderman Blessem to potentially develop this property. And then time passed on. I couldn't come to terms with the owner, the previous owner, mainly because of the amount of material that he wanted to spread across 16 of the acres, of the 40 acres. So I wanted the whole entire piece, or I was out. So I let it go. He continued to deal with the city, negotiating, and he did a DRT himself, it looks like on October 29th of 25. And then not too long after that, on December 8th of 2025, I was contacted by Kent Busick, the owner of the property, and come up with a number that was acceptable. We had a signed offer on, the 9th of December, and closed on the property on the 31st of December. And then at that point, I believe it was sometime mid-January, I met with at Ackerman Estivold as far as my engineering portion of it for the plat that I'm doing. And also Lance Meyer was there. And we discussed the detention pond. I had no idea what the previous owner discussed. They brought it up on the overhead, and it's, the number that they had was more than, not more than, it was ample for what I would have expected. So therefore, that wasn't an issue. The, where, and I don't know if Lance got that point across, this property, all the work they've done so far, and I'm not pleading because to me, it doesn't make any difference if I sell the property or don't. There's 4 more lots there. The value's still there for me. So it's a moot point for selling or not selling. The point is that property is only available now. We don't know in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever that might be, if that property is available. If it becomes not available, all the work the city has put into it is and they start over. So the amount that they're paying for that piece of property is a small amount compared to what it's going to cost them to start all over if this project moves forward.
Okay. Are there any questions for Alderman Hayes? Seeing none, we'll move ahead then. And since Councilman Hayes has disclosed that he believes he has a direct and substantial personal or financial interest in this matter, he's stated that he would prefer not to participate or vote. He's met with City Attorney Stahlheim, and she's advised that she agrees that a conflict of interest exists and recommends that he be allowed to abstain. To confirm the council's position on this, I'd like to open the floor for a motion acknowledging the conflict of interest and agreeing that Councilman Hayes should abstain from participating or voting on this matter. Is there such a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? City Attorney.
Mayor Jansen, members of the council, I just want to briefly speak on the conflict of interest analysis here. This isn't the first time or the last time that you're going to see it on this particular matter. So 440422, the statute that Mayor Jansen cited at the beginning of this meeting, states that a person acting in a legislative, quasi-legislative, judicial, or quasi-judicial capacity for a political subdivision of the state that has a direct and substantial personal or pecuniary interest in the matter before that board must disclose that fact to the body of which that person's a member, of which Alderman Hayes had, and then they cannot participate in or vote on that matter without the consent of a majority of the rest of the body. So in order for him to participate in this matter, he's asking to abstain. The body would have to consent to him participating in it. So as stated, I agree that I think that a conflict exists as it described to me and described to the body here. My recommendation would be that he recuse himself from this matter. And then we proceed to address the executive session discussion where we would allow the council to consult with its negotiators to negotiate that price and provide any negotiating instructions. Once that's done, this matter will come back again before the body to discuss the conflict of interest of actually entering into the contract. So that's going to bring forward a second question for the body to address, which is under a separate section of Century Code 401305 that states that officers are not to be interested in contracts or work of the municipality, and it provides for an exception. And I bring it up specifically just so you know kind of what to expect as we go through this process. So we'll address this vote. After that, we'll go into the executive session. We'll adjourn with the negotiating instructions. The matter will be brought back before the body to address this question, which requires unanimous approval from the other members of the governing body. So that statute states that except as otherwise provided by law, no municipal officer in a municipality having a population of 10,000 or more shall be directly or indirectly interested in. It lists 3 things, including contracts and purchasing real estate. So it states that however, the foregoing shall not be applicable if unanimously approved, so it's going to require unanimous approval by the other members of the governing body, by the political subdivision, by a finding unanimously adopted and entered into the official minutes of the governing body to be necessary for the reason that those services or property obtained are not otherwise available at equal cost. So as of right now, I don't think that question is right before the body because we don't have a determined cost that's been negotiated yet, but that will come back in on the back end after this deal has been negotiated to an extent and the body considers it a second time. So with that, I'll stand for any questions if the council has any.
Questions for the city attorney? Apparently not at this time. Your explanation was quite complete.
And so just to clarify, it's just a majority vote on this particular matter to recuse Alderman Hayes from participating in the matter. So his vote will be indicated as an abstention moving forward on this, should it be successful.
Okay, so we have that motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by the council? Seeing none, I've asked the clerk to call the roll, please.
Pittner,
Yes.
Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessum,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6-0. Abstention from Alderman Hayes.
With that, Alderman Hayes will be excused from participating in this matter. Now we move to the question of whether to convene an executive session to discuss negotiating parameters for the potential land purchase. The legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code, Sections 44-0-19.1, subsection 9, and 44-04-19.2. The purpose is to discuss negotiating strategy or provide negotiating instructions to our attorney and negotiators. Discussing this in open session would harm the city's bargaining position. A motion is now in order to discuss item 3.1 in executive session. Is there such a motion? Moved by Alderman Pittner.
Oh, well, I have a question for Lance prior to that motion. Just if we could bring the maps up again, Lance, just something I'm thinking about as we're sitting here, kind of some of Alderman Blessum's points on the need for this or the frequency of water running over Broadway or the frontage roads. Is there anything that would make that problem worse down the road? Further development? I mean, someone building a house a single-family home isn't going to do it, but out of that watershed, further development within that watershed that will make this problem worse at some point?
Mr. Mayor and Alderman Pittner, I would say that at this time, any land that would be developed probably up in this area of Northwest Minot would be a problem, only because it flows into a different piping system. The majority of this land flows to what we call Ballantine Lake and is then metered out to the Broadway ditch, but it still has some capacity issues. So at some point in the future, if this land ever develops, we'd probably look at another regional pond up here to try to minimize the flows that come south through the ditch.
Okay, with that, I'll make the motion to the executive session.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Alderman Fuller.
Sorry, just with what you just answered for Paul, Lance, I just had a quick question. So are you saying even if we do this other thing that we're talking about right now and move the water that way, if that area southeast of Ramstead up there is developed, that we'll still have to put in another retention pond up there because of the flow that will come off of there?
Mr. Mayor and Alderman Fuller, maybe to go a little bit deeper in this. So as land development occurs, developers are required to put in stormwater detention facilities. Up in this area, it's a pretty large land mass of undeveloped land. So as things would start to develop, the city would look for opportunities to try to take all these multiple ponds and try to co-locate them in one area for efficiency. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I just wanted to make sure I understood it.
Okay. Very well. So I think we have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Why don't we call the roll, please?
Pittner,
Yes.
Samuelson,
Yes.
Blessam,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Dancer,
Yes.
Olson. Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
The executive session will be recorded. Members are reminded that discussion must stay within the announced topic. Any final action will occur after we reconvene in open session, unless the law specifically requires action during the executive session. Because this session is held under North Dakota Century Code 44-04-19.1, providing negotiating instructions is permitted during the closed session. We will now relocate to the conference room. Members of the public may remain here in council chambers. We expect to return to open session at approximately 5:20. And off we go. The minutes will show that the executive session adjourned at 5:28, and the board has returned to the dais and council chambers. We're now back in open session. I don't believe there's any action that we need to take at this moment. We're on to item 5, which is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Meeting adjourned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break between these two meetings, and we will resume at 5:35.